Good morning, government class. I'm sorry that I'm unable to be with you today, but we're going to run through some notes introducing the legislative branch and the House of Representatives today. So we'll do a little bit of overview on the legislative branch overall. I'll talk specifically about the House of Representatives, and then next time I see you, we'll take a look at the Senate, and we'll continue with legislative branch from there. So let's jump into it. At the top of your notes page, there is some warm-up questions. Take a little bit of time to answer those warm-up questions on your own, and then we'll get into the notes themselves. So getting into the legislative branch, every 2 years, we elect all 435 members of the House of Representatives and 1/3 of the Senate. So you may remember back in November of this year, we had those midterm elections, and we elected the whole House of Representatives. We elected 1/3 of the Senate. It was a pretty big deal. We talked about it a lot in class. That's getting into the legislative branch. Every 2-year period in between these elections is called a Congress. And Congress is also the name that we give to the two houses of the legislative branch together, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Together they make up Congress. And there have been over 100 of these Congresses elected in US history. So each Congress has 2 sessions. It's about a year. They start in January. They usually adjourn sometime in December, right around the time you guys are going on winter break. A normal joint session is when the House of Representatives and the Senate are both meeting. The House of Representatives is doing House business. The Senate is doing Senate business. But if Congress has adjourned, the president does have the power to call them into a special session. The president can force Congress back into session, even if they have adjourned. Typically, that power is only going to be used in instances of some kind of national emergency. So we've got the two political parties, of course, Republicans and Democrats. The political party that has the most members in each house is known as the majority party. Makes sense. The party with fewer members is called the minority party. So these diagrams are not going to be accurate soon. We are in December of 2022. We've had our midterm elections. And so once all the dust settles and we know for sure how these all shake out, we'll know for sure what the breakdown of the two parties in each house is going to be. So the Senate might only change a little bit. It might stay exactly 50-50 like it is now. Democrats might get 51, Republicans might get 49, but the House is going to change quite a bit. So Republicans are going to become the majority party in the House. Democrats will become the minority party. So this diagram will actually be a little bit outdated when January comes and the new Congress takes their seats. We're kind of in an in-between time right now, here in December of 2022. We've had the election, but the new Congress has not yet been seated. And so when we get to some names and we talk about who's in charge of what or who current representatives are, you'll see we'll talk about the person currently holding the office, and then we'll talk about the person who's going to have it when January comes. So if you've been in schools in the United States for a while, hopefully you've heard this word bicameral. It just means that there are two houses in Congress. We have a Senate and we have a House of Representatives. One of the things with the new Constitution that got created, one of the things the founders were scared of is that a more powerful national government that was replacing the Articles of Confederation would pass laws too quickly without really thinking about them. And so they created this two-house system where the two houses act to check each other and prevent laws from getting passed too quickly. Sometimes it can even feel like they did too good of a job and laws never get passed at all. But certainly They didn't want Congress passing laws too fast. So getting in specifically to the House of Representatives some today, the number of representatives in a state is based on that state's population, which means states like California have the most. California's got the most, Texas comes in second, and then you've got states like Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Those are going to have the most, but each state has at least one representative. So Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, those states all get one representative to represent the whole state. So you start with one, and from there it's based on population. There are 435 total representatives, and every 10 years we take what's called a census, which is just a measure of population. After that 10-year census, we can determine how seats will be apportioned. That word just means how we're going to distribute those seats. So after the 2020 census, Texas gained a few seats, California lost seats, New York lost seats, Florida gained seats. So every 10 years, we take a census, we measure population, and then the number of seats that each state gets in the House can change. All right, so here's what I mean by that not yet, that sort of in-between phase. So here in December of 2022, Elaine Luria on the left here is our current representative. She is a Democrat, and she lost re-election in November. So she is currently the representative until January. But in January, Jen Kiggins, who is a Republican, is going to take over. So somewhere on your paper, find some blank space in a margin or something and write down those two names. Make sure you put Elaine Luria and put a little capital letter D next to her name because she is a Democrat, and then put Jen Kiggins. She is a Republican, and she will take over in January. And we are in Virginia's 2nd congressional district. Virginia has 11 congressional districts total, and Luria currently represents our 2nd congressional district, and as of January, Jen Kiggins will represent our district. If you want to be a member of the House of Representatives, you just need to be 25 years old. In fact, come January, there will be a 25-year-old member of the House of Representatives. He's the first member of Gen Z to be elected to Congress. You have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years and be a legal resident of the state that you represent. Members of the House of Representatives only serve for 2 years. So when Jen Kiggins takes over in January of 2023, she will be running for re-election again in November of 2024. It's a very quick turnaround. In the House, you're always running for re-election. As we'll see next time, the Senate is different. Things slow down a little bit in the Senate. But in the House, we hold elections every even-numbered year for members of the House of Representatives. The leader of the House of Representatives is called the Speaker of the House. This is one of the most powerful people in government. They are elected from the majority party. So in U.S. history, the Speaker has always been a member of the majority party, and they preside over the House. The Speaker recognizes whose turn it is to speak. They also have a ton of power over when or if something comes up for a vote. They get to make the agenda. So if there's a bill that most of the people in the House like, but the Speaker doesn't, they can simply never schedule a vote on it, and it never comes up. They get to determine who's on what committee and who chairs it, so they have a ton of power in the House. Think about it as you always want to impress your boss or keep them happy. Well, if you're in the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House is your boss. And this person is second in line for presidential succession. If something were to happen to both the president and the vice president at the same time, the Speaker of the House would become president. Once again, in our in-between phase here, Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat from California, is the current Speaker of the House. And Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, is the front runner to replace her in that job. The article that you're going to read today is going to be about Kevin McCarthy's efforts to be elected Speaker of the House. That election will take place in January when the new Congress takes office. So we don't know for sure that it will be Kevin McCarthy, but he's currently the leading Republican in the House of Representatives. He's the most likely person to get that job, but he still needs to be elected. So that's why I put the question mark here. We don't know for sure that it will be Kevin McCarthy, but again, he seems like the most likely choice. So he's got to win election by the whole House of Representatives, which means Republicans would need to get behind him. There's a few Republicans who have said they're going to vote no on him, but we'll see if he's able to change enough minds to win Speaker of the House. So make sure, again, you write down somewhere, maybe in the margin or something like that, Nancy Pelosi, and put the letter D next to her, and then Kevin McCarthy and put the letter R next to him, somewhere in that Speaker of the House section. And the last piece for today, special powers of the House of Representatives. It's up to the House of Representatives to begin the impeachment process. It takes a majority of the House of Representatives to impeach either a member of the executive branch, like the president. That's what we usually think of when we think of impeachment, is impeaching the president. But members of the judicial branch can also be impeached. Supreme Court justices or any federal judges can be impeached. It takes a majority of the House to impeach a member of another branch. All tax bills, when we talk about raising money, all tax bills have to start in the House of Representatives. They're the only type of bill that specifies which House of Congress they have to start in. So all tax bills have to start in the House. And if no candidate wins a majority in the Electoral College, the House of Representatives picks the president. If no candidate gets a majority in the Electoral College, the House of Representatives picks the president. So those are just a few things that the House only can do. So that's our overview of Congress and our introduction to the House of Representatives. When we get to next time, when we get to Thursday, we'll get into the Senate some. But for now, that will do it. And with the remainder of the time, you can take a look at the article that's on Canvas about Kevin McCarthy trying to become Speaker, and complete the depth and complexity handout also on Canvas that goes along with that. So sorry I wasn't able to be with you today, but I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday.